Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Modern Goonies podcast. I'm your host, Trevor King Minor, hanging out with my badass co-host, Michael Ross.
It's your boy, Michael fucking Ross.
And tonight we have a guest, my good friend, Harrison Hoyt.
What up?
So welcome to Season 1, Episode 8, and tonight's topic is music taste. So we're going to kind of go through how our music taste has evolved over the years, along with some of our greatest inspirations, and how we all came to become musicians. So, Michael, thanks for joining us tonight, man. I know you were all fucked up on your... Are you getting a phone call? Do you need to answer it?
Yeah.
You
Okay.
piece of shit.
It's too late. It fucking...
Who was that?
The bank that's helping me consolidate my debt.
Oh, fuck.
That's a serious phone call. You should probably take that.
Yeah, you could have just been like, hello, and I would have just cut it.
Fuck the podcast. Make it bad, bud.
Fuck.
Oh, well.
Where do I need to fucking pick up I don't even know.
I assume, right...
All right, anyway, so yeah, thanks for joining us tonight, Michael. I know that you have a thesis to write, and it didn't seem like you were going to be able to make it, but I'm glad you are, because you're one of the three music dudes that we need.
You have
on the
nothing but
podcast.
chaos going on in your life right now.
Yeah.
Oh, bro, it fucking sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
I'm having a bad time.
yeah. Hey, you'll get there. You have to write an entire thesis in a week. So
2 chapters of a thesis.
Thoughts and prayers.
In 3 days. 4
yeah,
days.
this is what you get for studying physics.
Dude, that's nothing. That's
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Write my thesis, bro.
Dude, I can't even read.
Okay, we'll pick up from here. Anyways, so I think maybe one of the more interesting ways to go about this is why don't we kind of start with how we all got into making music. So for those who don't know, all three of us, me, Michael, and Harrison, are musicians in our own right, and we all kind of have different styles for sure. And we've all been into it for a long time, ever since we were really young. So I actually don't know the stories of how you guys got into it. And I actually have a cool little tidbit about you that Michael informed me of, and I'll get to that in a minute. But why don't we start with that? So Michael, how did you kind of get into music?
Well, it was actually because of Guitar Hero. Rock Band. So the song Welcome Home by Hoyt and Cambria is the song that I credit with getting me into music creation.
Hell yeah.
Really?
I heard, that the ending part of Welcome Home where it's choral and sick as shit.
Whoa.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, God damn, I have got to learn how to play that. So that Christmas, I asked for a guitar, I asked for an amplifier, and I got both. So, that was before 2010.
Really?
Yeah, because that was when I was still living in Plano. So I got that shit. I started just fucking around on it. And then we moved to Quinlan. And then Gary started teaching me how to do some shit. And then he gave my stepbrother and I a multi-track recorder.
Oh, shit.
Like one of those real basic ones.
Oh,
But,
yeah, because Gary's super into music, isn't he?
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, so from there... Well, that's how I started. We'll leave it at that.
Okay, there we go. Harrison, what about you?
This is now you're asking me how I what got me into recording music.
Just make picking up, because you play guitar,
Okay.
so just kind of picking up guitar for the first time, learning your first instrument.
Honestly, a lot of the same reason, like what he said.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I can add that's different, aside from playing Guitar Hero with my friends or whatever, I remember specifically what started it for me was I remember when I was 15, the year right before I got a job, I was doing, this is the golden age of doing absolutely dick all day long. And so
right.
I had all day long to do whatever I wanted, right? And this is also at the very end of when Headbangers Ball was on MTV, and basically when MTV was becoming ridiculousness, right? And so I remember just at the time Metallica putting out Guitar Hero, their own Guitar Hero. They just come out with a new album, Death Magnetic, and I remember just it was just Metallica to the veins. It was just always, and they blew my mind. And so I always remember just hearing these riffs that I just had to figure out how to play them, because I listened to them so much that I'm I feel like I was catching on to something. And so I remember when we were friends, you got a guitar, and I was like, man, there's no reason at this point I shouldn't get a guitar. So I was like, I got one, and so it started from there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So I actually got into it for similar reasons as both of you. So what I've always been fascinated with guitars though. Like ever since I was a kid, I would always like kind of just, if someone had a guitar, I'd like fuck around on it. Like I loved it.
Sure.
And then what really got me into it was Guitar Hero 3, because me and Harrison used to play it like religiously, like every day. We fucking loved it. We were obsessed with
It was a dick measuring contest.
Yeah,
at
it
one
was
point.
it was so fucking cool. And that kind of got me into that got me into like whole new genres of music, because like, you know, that's early thousands, and this is all music from like the 80s and before, and so it expanded my music taste and gave me like a deeper appreciation for it. And then I got a guitar like one year. My dad's coworker was like, because I mentioned I wanted to start learning, and so my dad's coworker was like, "Oh, here you go." And so he gave me like one of his old guitars, and he gave me a like a book. It was a picture book of chords, is what it was.
Okay.
And I taught myself to play guitar just by looking at the pictures of these chords. I didn't know.
Was it just like a hand on a neck?
Yeah, that was well. So it was that, but then like right next to it, it would show you like
Tabs.
the strings of like
Okay.
where you would put your fingers.
Like a chord chart.
Yeah, kind of like, it was like a chord chart, but I was mainly learning just from looking at that, and then I was kind of like looking up, I was like, what chords like go together? I don't know shit about this, but so that's literally how I learned, and that was before like YouTube was a big thing, so I wasn't Googling videos on how to play. I was just literally just like looking at these pictures, and what kept me on it was what was it, like the first song I ever wrote, like it was like the end of my 6th grade year, and some girl had like broken up with me, and I was like super upset by it, and I only knew like 3 goddamn chords because I was learning how to play like what the fuck was it, like Knocking on Heaven's Door, and it only needs like 3 or 4 chords, and so like I wrote my own like 3 chord
Was that
song.
GCD?
Yeah,
it?
literally, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's G, D, C, and then sometimes you throw in an A minor, just depending. Yeah, and fucking. And like from there, I just kind of like fell in love with it. I was like, oh, this is like a good way to get closure about things. This is dope. And so I just never stopped from there. And that's how I got into it.
Sure.
But yeah. So how did you guys like actually learn how to play the guitar then? Like how did you actually pick it up?
Man, so at the time we were like I mentioned, like you got guitar first, and then I got like a starter Squire like candy apple red starter kit with like the shitty amp and everything.
Yeah.
So I got lessons. So I took lessons for about, I want to say maybe a year and a half.
Okay.
He was a blues guitarist. His name.
Oh, that's dope.
Oh my god, I forget his name, but he owned Peghead Guitars in Rockwall.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever been in there?
Yeah, I went in there
You ever
a
seen the
couple
old
times.
guy with the white hair?
I'd only gone in there a couple times, but I would go in and like browse guitars.
So like at the time, I was some like little shitty kid that like just wanted to learn like metal,
Right, yeah.
And like I really wish I didn't.
Yeah.
But like I did learn something from him. Obviously, like I learned my first song I ever learned was Wild Thing, super simple. And then he gave me like a blues tablature book like this thick, and same kind of thing with tabs.
Yeah.
I didn't learn sheet music. That shit is like a foreign language to
I
me.
don't know. Michael might be the only one in this room that knows how to read sheet music. I do not know how.
That shit is like, I can't. But I learned from tabs, and I learned like basic rhythm, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
And then kind of like what I was saying earlier, after I learned like rhythm and staying on time and everything, like mostly I guess on time.
Yeah.
I was getting into more like heavier music like Slipknot, Metallica, Pantera, and so like I eventually like just kind of sold my way up to getting better equipment, and ever since then I just like and then at that time YouTube was getting like covers on there, and like people were doing covers, putting uploading tabs, and like Ultimate Guitar was becoming a thing, if you've ever heard of it.
Oh yeah, I use it for everything.
Yeah. And so like that's pretty much how I learned like everything like that, and just obsessing. Obsessing is probably the best word to say.
Yeah,
Obsessing over trying to learn.
Yeah, I mean that sounds about right. Yeah, I've got a bad habit of like, for as long as I've been playing, I should definitely be better. But because I have a bad habit of like, when I kind of pick something up to like do what I want to do with it, I kind of stop like learning like unintentionally, because it's like you get complacent, I guess.
Sure.
But yeah, I always stuck with like, I liked lead, but I have a very hard time of playing lead and like singing. I like to sing with my stuff.
Yeah.
And I find it very difficult to do both of those at the same time. So I've always just kind of stuck more with rhythm. And I've just kind of like stayed there. I've picked up like more lead stuff, but I really only do that when I'm like recording music. I don't actually, I rarely incorporate any type of lead along with the rhythm stuff. So I usually kind of just stick to that. But Michael, so I know you mentioned a little bit about like Gary and whatnot, but how did you actually learn? Like just...
I mean, I just taught myself how to read guitar tabs, which obviously isn't too difficult, but I mean, everything that I did, I started with guitar tabs. And really, I guess I had a leg up on people who taught themselves because I had a music background when I started. Like, I was in orchestra, so I knew like how notes should sound in a scale and arpeggios, because we went over that in orchestra class.
Michael plays the viola as well and the keyboard.
Word.
I didn't know that.
No,
Viola, at least I didn't know.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
What is that? I don't even know what that is.
It's a bigger violin with a lower range. So the highest...
It's like a baritone violin.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a baritone violin.
Yeah.
Tight.
Hell yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I just practiced guitar tabs. But really, even before that, like, it was really shitty. I was just listening to songs and then trying to match the notes.
Right, yeah. Man, I hate that. I've tried doing that, playing to ear a little bit, and I hate it. I won't
Everyone's done that,
yeah,
man.
it's like, but so the thing I like pointed out a minute ago that I wanted to mention. So, you and I, we kind of stopped talking like a little bit through the years, just kind of like going through like middle school and like early high school. We didn't really talk like too much. So, we kind of fallen out of contact. And so I meet Michael, and we kind of are talking about maybe doing a band, and like, Michael blew my mind because I could only ever do rhythm, but then Michael would come in and just kind of like listen to something and just start writing like lead parts.
Sure.
I'm like, damn, I was always so impressed by that. And so I remember telling him one day, and I was like, because I knew a couple people that play guitar in Quinlan, and I was like, you might be the best guitar player that I know. I was like, you're really good, Michael. And he's like, hey, he's like, thanks, I really appreciate that. He's like, honestly, in my opinion, there's only one guy that's better than me, and that's Harrison Hoyt. And like literally, I just like stopped and I looked at him and I was like, Harrison? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, Harrison can play guitar. I didn't know that you had like completely learned to play guitar.
When was this?
This had to have been, I mean, what, 2011?
2011, 2012. It was if it was not late middle school, it was early high school.
It had
for
to
us.
be early high school because the first time I ever met you was in guitar class, or that guitar club thing in high school.
I don't even remember that, dude.
So
It has to be because I literally, that was the first time I met you, and it was like, dude, I remember being like, this dude has a fucking sick Jackson, and I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah. So
okay, maybe 9th grade, 2000.
Oh yeah, for you,
2012.
Okay. That's wild.
Yeah. So he hit.
I appreciate that.
He hit me. He hit me with
problem,
that, and I
dude.
was like, Harrison, like Harrison Hoyt. He was like, yeah. I was like, holy shit, I didn't realize he like completely picked up guitar. And he was like, yeah, he can do like pitch harmonics, and I cannot do that. He was like, Harrison's like really good. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, well, good for me. Good for him.
You can ask Sawyer how much I annoyed him with those. So like that was like the first like extravagant thing I learned. Like because like I pretty much learned how to do chugs, and I pretty much learned how to do like a heavy rhythm section, right? And like when I learned how to do pinch harmonics, if you know anything about Zach Wilde, you know that dude is just like over the top with it. And so like I would like the first song I think I ever had recorded with Sawyer was a cover of like Crank That, and it was like guitar it was something like that, but like Sawyer's doing like screaming over and I'm just going it was just ridiculous. It was so stupid, but like I got a lot better at it. But like, yeah, dude, like once you learn how to do that, I feel like everyone goes over the top with it.
Well, yeah, I feel like it's hard not to, because then you kind of start feeling like a god. And you're like, I mean, just me learning like basic axe scales, I'm like sitting there fucking just sliding around on those until my fingers are basically bleeding.
For sure.
Yeah, shit. Okay, so to kind of jump topics and go down some of these a little bit. So what was some of the music that y'all were interested in, like kind of growing up? Not quite to middle school, because I feel like when your music taste really starts to develop, it's around like middle school to like early high school. I feel like that's when you really kind of start getting a sense of what it is that you like. But what is it that you guys were interested in, like kind of like before middle school? Like what did you kind of grow up listening to?
3 Days Grace, Breaking Benjamin. Let's see. So 3 Days Grace, Breaking Benjamin, with the Simple Plan.
Shit. Yeah. Okay.
Jimmy Eat World, Priestess, Disturbed. Like all of these people. This is going to sound so fucking lame, so be prepared.
Oh, God.
But all of these bands were, Korn too. All
Hell
these
yeah.
guys were in RuneScape music videos.
Okay.
I didn't know those existed.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
They used to be the coolest shit
Hell
in
yeah.
like
Well,
fifth grade.
I thought this was going to be like the lamest shit you'd ever said, but that's not bad.
No, not at all.
Well, I mean, it feels that way sometimes.
Nah, bro, you're among fellow nerds. You're fine.
I feel like that's like super typical for a teenager around
Yeah.
that time. That like knowing how old you are, that makes complete sense.
Yeah. What about you? What was some of your stuff that you like to listen to growing
So
up?
I was around a lot of country music, like before I cared about music. But like I can tell you for sure, what made a mark was like my dad. I remember when he got iTunes for the first time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so like we were sharing stuff, and I remember like my allowance. I would literally at the time when I found out what iTunes was, like my allowance would go towards like a $15 like iTunes card, and I would buy like I would sit there all week thinking like, what songs am I gonna buy, or like what album and shit. And so my dad, when he first got it, we would always drive around in the summertime. I remember this specifically when we were living on the lake, and he would pull out his iPod Nano. Is that the one, the black one?
Oh, the big black one, like that
It
was
wasn't
like,
fat, but it was like it had a camera. It was the first one with a camera on it.
oh, it was like the iPod. That would be like the Touch then.
It wasn't a touch.
I thought the Nano was the
it
one
had a
that was,
circle
like,
still,
really
but it had a
thin.
tiny screen.
Oh shit, I don't know.
Anyway,
which one.
that
Yeah.
one. And it was Van Halen, White Snake, and like REO Speedwagon, like basically like 80s hair metal.
Okay,
And like
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
remember just absolutely fucking loving Van Halen, and like I think that was probably the first bit of heavy music I listened to. And I'll probably mention this one or two times, but like my morbid curiosity, once I hear something just kind of like ridiculous, always peaks with me in music. And like at one point, I mean, I found it already, where there's a wall of like ridiculousness when it comes to music, but like I think pushing the envelope is always something that draws my attention.
Yeah.
Like obviously with Van Halen, Eddie playing guitar is what brought my attention. High vocals, wow,
Yeah.
wow type shit like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely 80s music for sure. For
Really?
sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of so like before that, I want to say around like because like I said, whenever Guitar Hero 3 came out, it kind of like really opened up my music taste to just like a whole other world. I was like, I didn't even realize, oh, you can listen to old shit and like it. Like, you didn't even realize you could do that. I think beforehand, I always liked like pop music as a kid because my mom would constantly just be fucking jamming on
sure.
106.1. And then my dad was always up to date on technology. So like, as soon as the first like iTunes and iPod came out, he was like early adopter. Like day that shit comes out, my dad had it. Like, and so you would hear stuff, but no, even when I was young, I always really liked like pop punk music. Like that was always kind of my, like, I feel like I've always had an affinity towards that because I listened to like Simple Plan. Like when that first Simple Plan album came out, I had that shit like in the car on repeat nonstop, like in my own little like radio head in my room. I loved that fucking album.
Heartbreaker.
Oh yeah. And then
dude.
what was it? And then Simple Plan, like my dad was a big Simple Plan fan. So
Really?
not Simple Plan, motherfucker. Sum 41. He my dad was a big
really?
41.
my dad was a big Sum 41 fan, so he had like their first few albums. My dad actually met them on a plane
No
once
shit.
and got like all their autographs. Like
That's
they were
sick.
flying into Dallas together. I always had a huge affinity towards kind of like pop punk in its own way, and then just like general pop type stuff because my mom always had like 106.1 play in, and that was kind of like what she liked to listen to. But then when I got to like when Guitar Hero 3 came out, we were listening to that. Like it was like 80s, 70s. Like I loved Led Zeppelin, AC/DC. I was a huge fucking fan, and then probably my favorite was Guns N' Roses. I
remember.
I fucking loved Guns N' Roses.
It's so funny that like I think Guitar Hero was so important, and like no joke, for the time period, I genuinely think it is half of the reason half the people I know and like the people that are around my age probably got into music in general. Like aside from my dad showing me 80s music, like I covered that, but like same thing for you. I mean, like on the way to school, my mom had 106.1 going, Kid Craddock in the morning. Shit like that. Rest in peace.
Oh yeah,
Forgot he's dead.
Kid Craddock, fucking
Fucking
every
rip.
morning, going to school. My mom
He
always
played
had.
my mom's. I think he DJ'd my mom's prom or something like
Really?
that. Yeah, he used to do DJs, I think.
That's fucking cool.
Anyway, I remember like so vividly that you were idolizing the 69 Les Paul, and it was like you coveted guitar, and it's so like it's still a good looking guitar.
Yeah.
And like I remember, I will always remember that And then I remember you liking Guns N' Roses, Tom Morello, obviously.
Rage Against the Machine. Fucking I love them too.
And it's another thing you mentioned that's funny. So when your dad, I remember riding in the back of his truck with you, and he gave us his iPod, and we were listening to his songs on there, and there was this song by Metallica called "So What," and I remember we would play it and just laugh at it because it's so fucking what, and like it's like I fuck, I shoved my cock right down his throat, and it's like I remember like as a kid that was peak humor, and like we would just laugh for days at it.
Yeah, that's fucking hilarious.
It's so funny.
I've forgotten that. That's funny.
Yeah, good ass times.
Damn. Yeah, no, so that's kind of where a lot of my music taste laid. Yeah, like I love Guns N' Roses was just yeah,
they're good. I mean, I definitely think they're really overhyped. And like I'm probably gonna say a lot of hot takes, but like, I definitely think Slash is a good guitar player. I had this discussion before with Sawyer, and like I said that he's a really overrated guitar player because he doesn't know when to stop. Kind of like Zakk Wylde too. Like. I mean, honestly, the three coveted like metal guitar player. I say metal rock guitar players in metal. Kirk Hammett from Metallica, Zakk Wylde from Ozzy and Black Label, and then Slash. They just don't know when to stop, and their gimmicks run through time, and they never change. And you just know like a riff from them when you hear it. Like you can just tell. Like if you played it with no description, I probably could tell you if it was them or not.
Okay. So Michael, you have joined us again.
Yes.
How was everything? Good?
Yeah, everything is good.
All right, there we go.
Papa bless.
Yeah. All right. So we'll hop into the next one. Okay. So what was kind of, you're coming into middle school. What's some of like your middle school jams? Your music is probably starting to warp a little bit at this point. I feel like everyone's kind of does. So Michael, what was some of the stuff you were listening to?
See, my music taste really, like at that time, I was in a lot of, Breaking Benjamin, little bit of Sum 41, just a bit. Simple Plan, Jimmy Eat World, like basically the RuneScape stuff. It wasn't until high school when everything just sort of coalesced and then like branched out like a fucking tree, it felt like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, at that point, I was listening to stuff like A Day to Remember, Asking Alexandria, a little bit of Woe Is Me, like a lot of the more metal, maybe metalcore bands.
Sure.
But in the midst of that, there was fucking EDM. Fucking EDM, man.
Yeah.
It started with...
It was budding from that point.
Oh, yeah.
I listened to Skrillex for like the first time around freshman year, and I remember Zach made fun of me. He was like, why would you want to listen to robot sex noises? And he said, what do DJs do? Do they just step on the fucking stage and
Transformers having sex?
Yeah. And that was funny at the time. And I realized how fucking wrong he is.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because that was kind of like the criticism when it was like first getting popular. It was like, yeah, exactly that. It's like, what, you're gonna go to a show and watch people press buttons? Like, fucking, this ain't a concert. And then it's like, yeah, then you go to one, you're like, okay, this is dope as shit.
Hell yeah.
Anyways, not to get onto EDM too much, but okay, yeah. So, all right, so I guess we can kind of do that. We can kind of transition into more like middle school, high school, like what we were listening to, how our music taste. Harrison.
Honestly, kind of the same. So like I was branching out of the old school shit because like eventually you hit a wall and you're like, okay, like is there anything new worth listening to?
Yeah.
And so like eventually hitting that wall and watching MTV Headbangers Ball. I remember specifically I can tell you actually for one that when I met Sawyer, it was in middle school. So like I will straight up thank Sawyer for this. So middle school basketball. The only dude I ever talked to really out of it, and he had his old like Zune or some shit, and he showed me August Burns Red, and that blew my fucking mind.
Yeah.
It was Backburner, and to this day, it's like I remember listening to it in awe. Like, what? And he was like, dude, guess what? I'm like, what? He goes, they're Christian. I'm like, what?
Okay,
I was like, how?
Hold up. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good.
So Ashton Long, Trevor, you remember
I might
him.
have to fucking bleep that, but go ahead.
Sorry. Oh yeah. Okay. So a friend of mine in middle school, high school rather, showed me Abandon All Ships.
Oh yeah.
And Abandon All Ships was what really got me into like the screaming-ish music.
Yeah.
That was hard as shit, dude.
At
least back then, in my mind.
I definitely was. So it was weird. So like I was branching into like the more like, I don't want to say experimental, but it was like definitely I was getting into more underground / like up and coming like stuff. So like what he was saying, like metalcore, like because what Soar showed me, August Burns Red.
Yeah.
And then at the time I was in youth group going to church and stuff. So like I remember my dad had he only had cable at his house, and there was this channel called JCTV.
Okay.
And it was a Christian
Is it Jesus Christ TV?
literally. And it would come on at 12 or no, it would be on all day. But like it would be like a teen like, yo, what's up? Like fellow Christian teens, like right at like
We're here to
12
worship some
a.m.
God.
And so all of a sudden, like it would be like music. You know how like VH1 had like music video like hour. It was like just blew my mind. Like all of a sudden, Under Oath came on, Devil Wears Prada came on, and like My Children, My Bride. I'm throwing some names out there that like you may not know, but like all Christian metalcore. And I remember like thinking like for some reason just like metalcore was the move, and I'm like, I mean, literally, I mean, so much came from finding metalcore. It was not even a joke. And like Warped Tour came along, and that was in high school, and I would live and breathe like Alternative Press. If y'all even read those magazines and everything,
I follow them on Twitter.
Oh yeah, I was just, I mean, I'll straight up admit it, I was a scene kid, and like he said,
Nothing wrong with that.
I remember dubstep being big. I liked it. I thought it was insane. Like I thought like it was the newest. I mean, it was the newest thing, and I don't think people knew how to handle it. And I remember just liking it because it was different. And I was like, somehow this is heavy, and I don't know how to explain it.
It hits hard, but it's like melodic. So you're like, how does this work? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I feel you. Yeah. So I listen to music mainly like just through shit that like my dad would have, that he would kind of show me new artists from time to time, or really just what was on the radio or what would pop up on kind of like the alt radio stations where it's like, oh, I haven't heard like that band from the 90s. And like you go kind of look up most of their shit. But most of my music came from just like iTunes, like just shit I could buy. So like all my music I bought and owned. And so you could go through and kind of click like a few songs from the artist that you like maybe liked or maybe didn't. But that was really my only way of finding music. So like a lot of the stuff that I liked was like pretty mainstream. Like I was a huge Coldplay fan. Like I loved Coldplay. Like that was kind of... And then, you know, just like kind of popular, like Green Day. I was a fucking huge Green Day fan.
Weren't you a big fan of Cranberries?
Yes, I loved the Cranberries. And I discovered them because they were on my dad's fucking iPod. I loved the Cranberries.
Okay.
So that was kind of my way of like finding music. And then all of a sudden, so like into my freshman year, John and Mark introduced me to Edgit.
Okay.
Introduced me to the fucking service that changed my life, and it was fucking Pandora. like seriously, they were like, hey, you should like listen to this, and I was kind of like skeptical. I was like, well, what the fuck is this thing? And they're like, yeah, it's just like plays radio stations. I was like, well, you have the radio for that. Like, no, just like you can pick artists. Like, here, just try it. And so it was like Michael said earlier, like a fucking like a tree just completely branched out, like bloomed like immediately, because like I could put in like my couple artists that I like.
Sure.
And then now I'm listening to songs I didn't even know fucking existed.
Sure.
Because of Pandora. And so like that's where, so I kind of missed like the scene like moments, because a lot of people were kind of getting into that in like middle school.
Right.
And I wasn't getting into it until like, you know, like almost my sophomore year basically. So like I kind of missed like some of these artists, and people are like, oh yeah, I've been listening to them since I was in 6th grade. And it's like I like got that a couple times. I'm like, okay, well I just found them and they're cool, so fuck off. But
sure.
And so like that's when I got into just like everything, like Mayday Parade, just all the like quintessential like pop punk, and that's where I figured out that's where my taste lied. I was a huge Paramore fan. I listened to a bunch of their shit. And then I was super skeptical on A Day to Remember for a really long time, because I didn't like screamo at all. I hated it.
Sure.
Like I would shit on it all the time. I was like, it's not even fucking music. You're just screaming into a mic like dirt, like fucking. I thought it was so dumb.
That's what they all
But
say.
the one song that changed my opinion entirely was John and Mark showed me If It Means a Lot to You, and I was like, I was like, wait, hang on. These motherfuckers can like make normal sound and music. Hold up. And
White girl moment.
Yeah, and I was like, hang on, they can make like normal music. And then so from there, I was like, okay, this song's good. Maybe I can like kind of, like that introduced me to it. And then from there, it's like I loved fucking Screamo. I was a huge A Day to Remember fan.
Sure. That's a good album, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the best. It just sucks because like I so overplayed that like I can't go back and really listen to it anymore because it's just like immediately transported to fucking, skinny jeans and slicked back hair.
Shit, dude, I was a part of it, man. I'm not gonna act like I wasn't. I mean, like you said about pop punk. I mean, I got into pop punk my senior year. I'm not even fucking playing. I was literally. I remember who I was with. It was. Can I say names?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't even remember the names.
There we go. But, that's easy to believe.
But I remember. Kinsey Amos. That's who it was.
Okay.
Kinsey Amos showed me Real Friends, Neck Deep in the Story So Far.
Yeah.
And it was my senior year. And I was like, oh, that's cool. It kind of reminds me of the 90s. But like more sad for sure. But I definitely got more into it like after graduation.
Yeah.
No joke, but
your
graduation, but no reference there.
Well, that's pretty much so like I was into like different types of like pop punk. I was kind of like, I don't know if you know who like the Dangerous Summer is. I mean, Michael knows them, but like, so they were more like, it was like pop punk, but like super underground. Like these people that like Search the City was like my favorite band for years, and no one has fucking heard of them like ever.
What was it?
Search the City.
Oh, I think it's Circus. Or something.
No, Search the City, and I mean, like I loved them. They were fucking amazing, and so like that's kind of like where my music lied. And so it was like pop punk that like you had maybe heard like a song or two from. Like if I played it, you'd be like, oh, okay, like I've heard that.
Okay.
Probably playing in like some skater dude's basement. Like fucking, you've heard it somewhere, and then. My pop punk wasn't like opened up into like true like what everyone considers is like the pop punk community until you were the one that did it because you showed me that Turnover album, and that's another like pivotal. So like there's Pandora, and then there's Harrison showing me Turnover. That like fucking and then like Guitar Hero 3. Like those are the three things that completely changed my music taste.
Dude,
like for
it's
life.
It's funny because like I remember when I discovered that album, I literally kept seeing the fucking album cover, and I'm like one of those. And this is because I'm a metalhead, and I feel like this is what a lot of people. Like, especially older metalheads that didn't have, like, iTunes or whatever before, they would literally judge an album if they didn't know the band by the fucking cover.
Oh, really?
I mean, yeah, most of the time. I mean, you could ask anyone from the 90s or 80s before then, before, like, Napster, before fucking anything.
Yeah.
Like, they would literally pick an album because of the album cover. Like, and so, I always saw that album cover. Like, when it came out, I didn't listen to it for, like, a year. And then I remember when I heard it. And so, like... When I found pop punk was at a time where like I was going through like a big breakup, and so like angsty fucking cutting my fingers off, fucking and so like I remember finding
that's literally the title of the song.
Yeah, don't send help. But like I remember listening to it, and like I wouldn't even call it. I mean, obviously they're part of the pop punk community, but like
not that. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
They're like I remember them, and they weren't even super pivotal because I found them. As I was going out of the breakup into like what I'm now married in, and so like, I do like them though. Definitely like Turnover.
Oh yeah, no, I know
definitely.
you do. Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, so that changed. It was so weird because you would show me that album, and obviously I would not consider that like a pop punk album. That's a very kind of like indie pop album, is what it is.
Definitely.
And but you showed me that, and so like I'm sitting there like because I was at Tech at the time. Shit, this was like 2016, man. Fuck, that was a while back. And so
that came out in 2014, I think.
2015, I think. Yeah. And so I like put it on. It's like Harrison sent me a recommendation. He doesn't send me a lot of those. I'll listen to it. So I like thrown it on while I was playing like video games. And like me and John, he comes in and like we're just talking, and then I'm like, fuck, this is good. Like I'm just sitting, I just like kept playing it over and like the whole thing. And I was like, you could just vibe to it. And I still do that. Like I put the fucking, like that's literally the album that's on the record player right now, just ready to go. Like I fucking love that album. But so, what did I do? I went into Pandora. I put that shit in as a new thing, like Turnover. And then I'm hearing fucking Moose Blood. I'm hearing Neck Deep. I'm hearing Modern Baseball.
Knuckle Puck.
Yeah. Is this Knuckle Puck, motherfucker? Yeah. Like it opened me up to everything. And then like that, like Modern Baseball is probably my favorite band of all time. Like I love them so much, and I would have never found them had it not been for you. Like fucking it.
I'm honored.
It was just such a pivotal music moment. Like you have no idea. Had you not introduced me to Turnover,
dude, I'm so honored from both of y'all because I feel like there's so much like slept on things that I just put some little zest on that
he just did the Salt Bae thing.
created a fucking like thing. I feel so important.
Oh yeah. I mean seriously, like you really were. Like as far as my music taste go, 100%. Because like I said, like modern baseball probably changed my life. Like it just there were so many songs that I could just relate to. Not only so like you're a teenager, you're phasing out, you're kind of going into college, and like so many songs are like that at that specific moment in life. Of one of my favorite like song lines by them is like I'm caught somewhere in between my adolescent safety net and where the world wants me to be. So it's like, you're still technically like an adolescent, and you kind of get to be like a kid, but at the same time, in your early 20s, you're supposed to start being like responsible and whatnot. And it's like all of their music just was so, that's how I felt at the time. Like
it's funny. Sorry to keep going on the pop. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. So, well, one, before I forget, like that's what you just said is something that I would sort of like to touch on, like impactful moments in music.
Yeah.
We can put a pin in that for a little bit. I just wanted to say, like, if we're talking about impactful moments with music, mine was definitely one when I started watching RuneScape music videos.
Yeah, that's definitely number one.
Like, that really formed, I want to say, the foundation of my music. I listen to Breaking Benjamin today, like, to this day.
They're good.
Yeah.
Two, when one of my friends from Plano showed me Skrillex for the first time.
Yeah.
Like, that had leaps and bounds of, that's probably not the correct phrase, but a insurmountable impact on the music that I listen to from like early 2010s to even fucking today. So much so that like 80% of my music library is now EDM.
Yeah.
And after that was a day to remember, or like the time I listened to metalcore in early high school, because that's also sort of a detriment, just because writing music today, like even in EDM, like I can't get away from the metalcore chord progression. No matter how hard I try.
Yeah.
Like it's very difficult.
Yeah.
It's catchy. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
But that's what I got about that influence.
Yeah, well, that's another like topic that I kind of had in there was like like kind of the moments that influenced you more than anything else. But so what was so here's one. So what's kind of, how has your music changed just from like leaving high school until now in our early to mid 20s? God damn, we're all about to be 25, 26. Yeah. So yeah, from now to kind of like our mid 20s, like has anything changed for you? Like what's really, Harrison, why don't you go first? Because I know you kind of, yours is going to be similar.
You're asking like, what's our music taste like now?
So like kind of like, so like you're 18, you just finished high school. So like, how has it changed from there to now being a 25-year-old? Like, well, like what's like the main difference? What's like anything that feels different to you? Like, how does music feel to you now?
Damn. So I listen to a lot of shit. I definitely couldn't cover it all. But, something like I did say before, like I grew up technically listening to country music, but like I couldn't remember any of it. Yeah. But like I definitely listen to country music now, and it's like a weird thing because I shit on it so much as a kid. And I feel like it's easy to shit on.
The exact same way. Like my dad always had like the CMT countdown on like every fucking Sunday.
No. Okay,
like,
let me rephrase this before someone comes after me. I'm not saying like radio country. Pop, I'm gonna say now.
Yeah, it's like
I don't care if I hurt your feelings. Pop country is ass, and I'm considering Keith Urban in there.
Oh, man.
After 2005, I guess, but like,
okay,
like I listen to anyway, but like I listen to country. I listen to a lot of extreme music. So like one of them being like Full of Hell, which literally is considered grindcore noise.
Interesting.
And literally, okay, so the only way I can explain this band is like I've seen them twice, and literally, it's just not it. It's the peak. This is kind of like that wall of extreme music. Like, how far can you push it?
Yeah.
And so, like, this band. So, if you don't know what grindcore is, it's basically metal on like steroids. It's just fast, aggressive, and like you could not tell what the lyrics were going to be.
Okay.
So, like, what you think screamo is, this is like what you really think it is. And so, like, it's just, it's hard to explain without seeing it. And so, like, basically, everyone's playing instruments. Like, there's a bass player, guitar player, drummer. And then the vocalist, right? And the vocalist is just doing vocals that just sound like it's just abysmal, screaming, agonal, decaying nonsense. And so he also has a pedal board of just random pedals and like synthesizer shit, and he's just making noise. Literally, it's just adding background to it.
Yeah.
It's just chaos. It's absolute chaos.
Yeah.
Definitely my extreme music taste has peaked.
So why is that? Like, do you know of any catalyst that might have like kind of spurred you into that?
Like a band specifically?
Well, maybe a band, or just like a reason that you kind of have like morphed into that taste.
I can definitely tell you. So
Okay.
again, MTV Headbangers Ball. I could tell you exactly where I was when this happened. Actually, I was at Zach Ravel's house.
Oh God.
Shouts out. He was asleep, and I was just sitting in his bed, about to fall asleep. And all of a sudden, I heard this band called Cattle Decapitation come on. And I was like, the name itself, what the fuck? And then it was a song called I know it was off the album Harvest Floor. I can tell you that.
Okay.
This band is still current, but again, this is a band that is grindcore. And so this is at the same time I knew about like August Burns Red and metalcore. And this is when I realized you could push it further. And so like, this shit blew my mind. Like, it was like inhuman fast. I couldn't believe it was real. Like, I was like, what? And so I found this band, looked them up, and then they're not old, but they're like from the 90s. They've been around for a bit. And then I found out other bands from them. And then from there came listening to bands like Black Dahlia Murder, and then like just aggressive bands. And like, there's just something that, like I touched on earlier, like this morbid curiosity that like, and that's with, I mean, anything, movies, like...
I know for a fact with movies, we've always kind of had
like,
that.
it's with anything for me. Like, I'm always try to look for something that's, like, just pushing the envelope. Now, obviously, and I'm not saying I'm going to like it always, but, like...
Yeah.
Like, as a kid, I just couldn't believe it. Like, I was like, holy shit. And, like, I saw the skill it took. And I don't know how I saw it, but I did. And then with finding that, like... cornerstone of like extreme music, you do find some bands that are like, okay, you're just talentless. But like straight up, I'll admit, but like in front of everybody, like there is straight up versions of like what you would call screamo that is like no talent. Like it's just nonsense.
Well, I feel like you can find a couple of those guys in just about every genre.
Oh yeah,
like, that's
for sure.
But I mean, like something you're good about though, I feel like with just a lot of things in general is that you're kind of really good at finding, like you find the art in a lot of kind of like the more morbid or more like kind of like hipster out there things that people aren't really like, I would say just like normal everyday people aren't willing to like even consider might have like artistic value. Like you've always been kind of good about that though.
Sure. And I mean, I won't sit there and act like, because like I guess when you say that, the first thing that comes to most people's minds is like, oh, like you like shit that's not cool, or like you like shit that's not cool.
Oh, well, I didn't really mean it like that.
Well, I think some people will, but like I think what really was the second cornerstone for that was going to like shows, like seeing like raw like people my age doing it was pretty crazy, and I think that's what really spiked my interest to make music too. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like after that, that's pretty much where I am at right now.
Okay.
So
yeah,
that's where I am now.
Okay, so I'll go and then you can go, because like I said, I think your answer is like semi-similar.
Sorry that was so long.
No, you're fine. Yeah, it's a podcast. We get to talk about shit for a while. So I would say the way that my music kind of changed from like, you know, ending high school to now is that I would never say my music was like angsty. I was never into music just for the sake of like, oh, this is, you know, kind of pushing the envelope, or this is like, oh yeah, they hate their parents. Like I was never kind of like into that. I always cared a lot about like lyricism and, you know, a good meaning in a song. But it was definitely more like harder punk when I was in like high school, I would say, like Search the City and stuff like that. Like, you know.
Yeah.
But then the way it changed is, it mellowed out like quite a bit, and it kind of, it matched, my music has always kind of matched like the stage in life that I'm at. So, you know, when you're younger, you don't really have like a whole lot of like cares, worries in the world. It's kind of like more punky, like upbeat type shit. And then you get older, you start like really having to think about shit. Then it's kind of like more the modern baseball. Like, okay, shit, is this what it's like to like start growing up and finally like entering into the real world? And kind of like, okay, you get like some of your first like real world like heartbreaks, and you listen to some of the like the neck deep stuff about that, and then you start progressing kind of like to, you know, there's a lot more. I would say there's a lot more music that I would listen to that is a bit more like existential. It got more existential and more like, you know, what is the meaning of life? What does it even mean to like be sad or to be like happy? Like it got more existential. And then, you know, I was on kind of like the chill, like turnover, kind of like dream pop stuff, and then just kind of like chill pop punk. And then I would say here lately, kind of now that you know, I found my way a little bit more like in life, it is mellowed out completely. Like it's mainly kind of like new wave 80s synth. It's more kind of like poppier and upbeat. Dream pop type stuff, just kind of like feel good music, because it's like I said, it's always kind of mirrored the way that I've kind of like the stage that I've been at in life. So, you know, who knows where it'll go from now. Like now, when I was a kid, I never appreciated like any kind of country, but then I get older, and now I do. Now I do like some of like the dumb shit, like one of my guilty pleasures is, man, I fucking love Old Dominion. I love them. Like they're so good, and it's like, you know, just kind of like mindless, like, oh yeah, like she's looking at me, she's looking good, like kind of music. Like, but it's like you appreciate that more as you get to kind of like a point in your life where that's how you feel in life. And like I said, I feel like it's always kind of, that's how my music has always been. It's always mirrored how I felt.
It's just growing up. That's
yeah,
all it
yeah. I
is.
mean, basically, like I feel like it's matured in certain ways, like less. Like I said, I was never into super angsty music just for the sake of angst, but like it is less angsty for sure. It's less like, oh, everything sucks and I'm sad. Like it's a whole lot. Yeah, it's a whole lot less of that.
It's funny because like I don't listen to pop punk. Well, okay, I'm not gonna say that. Like I think the only band I listen to currently that's pop punk is Story So Far. Mm-hmm. But like, I mean, the time I was listening to them, they were the same. Like I was going through the same shit.
Yeah,
like
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like it definitely is more effective depending on what you're going through. And for me, like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm always fucking angry. That's why I listen to extreme music. Yeah. But like straight up, I wake up in the morning and like sometimes I'll either listen to a podcast or I'll listen to like fucking Bolt Thrower or like a band called Obituary. Like it's just to get up, like wake up. And like it's not like I'm cranking it, but like, I mean, shit, even now, like, I mean, I'm not even old. And like sometimes I'm like, okay, sometimes this metal music shit is like too much.
So I was going to say that, like, me and you, Trevor, like, we had very similar, like, a lot of overlap in our music tastes in high school.
Yeah, a lot.
But I think some of the stuff that you didn't listen to, I mean, primarily EDM, basically. Like, before, when I would listen to music, it would sort of be to relate to the lyrics because, I mean, everybody does, but I distinctly remember going through a breakup and being like, "Damn, this song be hitting."
Oh yeah,
Sheesh.
oh yeah. We all have those.
Yeah.
We all have those.
And I think I was actually thinking about this in the car like just a few weeks ago. Like lyrics used to be the most important thing in a song. Like, okay, well, actually, it was guitar, like how the instruments sounded, and then lyrics.
Okay,
but as the years have gone by, lyrics don't even matter to me as much as the musical technique. Like, getting involved in electronic music production is, like, you really see how much skill it takes to make some of these sounds. And so, like, when I'm listening to this EDM, it's like, a sound that's like half a second could make the fucking song.
How to feel like a sound.
Yeah.
That's like, a good way to. Yeah.
So, I mean, I was listening to a song today in the car, and there's this one point in the song, this specific song that I really like, where like the music just coalesces and then just fucking drops, and then it, like, no lyrics have made me tear up in probably the past several years, but that whatever fucking technique that is, like, that just hits me hard, man.
Dude, that's like what filmmakers do with storytelling. But like, it, honestly, I'm gonna agree with you without even saying more, because like I had this. It was an EDM song. Okay, I say EDM. I don't know if you'd call it an EDM. It was "With You Friends, Long Drive Home."
Yeah,
by
that's
Skrillex.
Skrillex falls under the massive umbrella category of EDM. Like,
I didn't want to gatekeep. I just know
No, I
people are
got
like,
you,
oh
I
my
got you.
God, what? Like, no, but
We're all gatekeepers
I remember
here.
when I heard that, like, I was like, damn, like, I feel it. I've had that with 2 songs. That one and Never Forget on the Halo. That's the name of the song on the Halo 3 original soundtrack. If you heard it, it's like the loading screen when you're playing multiplayer. It's like, dun dun dun, dun dun dun.
Is that
Dun,
da,
dun,
da, da,
dun,
da?
dun, dun. Yeah.
Yes!
Yeah. Dude, every time I hear it, I'm like, bro, I'm trying to play with my friends and whip ass, and I'm like, I got a tear in my eye. Like, what is this? I feel like Halo intentionally does that to chill you out, and they're like, all right, you about to whip ass.
Yep.
We don't want to play no like Call of Duty like dun 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 dun, but they're like,
Yeah.
dun dun.
Damn.
I love that song.
I agree with you though. I feel like I can respect, like, I mean, lyrics take talent for sure, like,
Definitely.
but writing emotion out of just sheer notes is like, that's talent. That I can respect it more, and I don't mean anything, like, no shame on it, but like, I can just respect it more.
Yeah.
For sure.
So this is actually one thing we can go ahead and segue into this that I did want to talk about, is that when you guys listen to music, and I know you answered this a little bit in what you just said, Michael, but when you listen to music, what is it that you really look for, or that really speaks to you when you're listening to a song? Like, what is it that you really like the most about music? Michael, we'll hold off on you again. Keep answering questions before they come up. But Harrison, so what is it that you kind of look for the most in a song?
It honestly depends on the genre. Because I expect certain things from certain genres. And sometimes that can be a bad thing. Just because like with certain genres come certain tropes, I guess, kind of like, you know, like movies.
Well,
and
they're called
shit.
genres for a reason. I mean,
Right,
yeah, absolutely.
exactly. And so, like, I guess one in particular that I can say that like I found a new thing about was, aside from pop punk, I always felt like I hated that I couldn't relate to it, because there's been a lot of like I've struggled a lot aside from, you know, the breakup, you know, like obviously getting married and going through school while trying to throw a fucking wedding and, you know, barely working a job that could pay the bills. Like, I struggled a lot, and like, obviously with that, pop punk didn't happen like it should have, because I expected it to. For Lainey, it did. In fact, when Lainey met me, this is my wife, Lainey, she found Citizen from me, and like literally got a tattoo of it within like, I think, a year of meeting me.
They're a good one.
And she was like, if you leave me, I literally will not, like, I will cut this off my leg. And I'm like, okay. But anyway,
no pressure.
But anyway, with that in mind, shouts out to Zach Wright. He showed me the new face of country music. And this is literally why I found country music again. So I'm used to like what I grew up around, which was 90s country, which there's a lot of good country music in the 90s, but there's a lot of bad. That's like when the pop country was kind of segueing in. You were starting to see pop in it.
Well, did you know that like George Strait, when he came around, was actually like at the beginning kind of like lambasted because he was considered like pop country.
Oh,
Like,
we're not about to slander George Strait.
No. I love George Strait,
Yeah,
but I'm
yeah.
just saying like he kind of actually he was
can
he was the
imagine.
forefather
I can
of like
imagine.
pop country. Yeah.
I don't know how anyone can hear Amarillo by Morning and not
Yeah.
fucking almost shed a tear. I guess that's a Texas thing too. But anyway,
Yeah.
back to what I was saying. So like, I was struggling through a lot of just basically, it was the first time I was actually mostly on my own without any guidance. It was just me and Lainey.
Right, yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know, there's a lot of people, I mean, you guys, I mean, you know, mostly doing it on your own, you know, without like a girlfriend at the time or a wife or anything like that. And so like struggling with another person a lot of the times is like kind of hard to grasp, because it's like it honestly kind of feels like you're failing with two people sometimes.
Oh no, I totally get it.
And like, no shame on my wife, Lainey, or anything like that, but like, I remember Zach showing me Sturgill Simpson and Tyler Childers, and
Really
this
good.
was like straight up a new leaf, like kind of like what you're saying, the spiderweb effect. Like, I couldn't believe how good it was. And then even with that new era of country music, I ended up finding their inspirations that were old and like great. And I was like, oh
yeah.
there's been really good country music for a while. And it was like kind of, to me, I told Sawyer this before, I feel like country music and pop punk could learn a lot from each other. And then honestly, I think they honestly, they're grown up.
Yeah.
I genuinely think this, and you can cancel me if you want to. I don't give a fuck. I straight up think pop punk and country artists are the same people, different genres. They're the same thing.
I could. That is so. I think that's a really cool parallel that
It's
you just
straight
said
up.
there. Like,
it is.
I honestly,
polar opposites, but they're the same thing.
I know people like Zach when he's listening to this, he's gonna wince at what you just said, but I completely agree. Like if you listen to a lot of like pop punk, and you listen to a lot of like country, that's kind of that they say a lot of the same stuff just in a completely different way.
Different
like
tune.
they just put it out differently. No, I complete that. No, that's a good parallel.
So
That's
the
a good
song
parallel.
"The Dead Don't Die" by Sturgill Simpson. It was in a movie called I think it was called "The Dead Don't Die." I'm probably dumb, but like anyway, it's a song about the afterlife. And then he made a song called "Let Go." This is Sturgill Simpson, and like it's just grown up shit. Like literally, it's just. I mean, even pop punk talks about grown up shit. But like you were mentioning with pop punk, I feel like pop punk applies to people our age very well.
Yes,
and like I mean, you can tell that with. People like rap or pop artists kind of trying to bring that trope back. Because I definitely remember like when what Michael was saying back in like 2000, I guess 4 or 5 era, like with like Breaking Benjamin or like radio rock for sure.
Yeah.
Like you could tell that rock was kind of coming back, and then like I mean it's always been around, but like it has waves. Rap and pop is definitely the thing right now.
Yeah.
But like I mean in the 80s it wasn't. And like 90s it kind of was, but pop was definitely getting big.
Yeah.
But I think it's coming back, and like me and Sawyer would talk about this like with MGK Willow Smith and I don't know if there's anyone else that's doing it right now, Mod Sun, but he's been kind of around for a minute. They're bringing back. I think they're trying to bring back like the pop punk / poppier rock into the mainframe, because I hate to say it, but like pop is just king. I mean, poppy like catchy music is always going to draw the attention of anyone, and I feel like smart musicians, like whether I agree with their music choice or not, MGK and Willow Smith, they're smart for doing it, because I feel like they're realizing that rap is kind of like, you know, it's obviously working for most people, but like rock is coming back definitely, and I feel like it's coming back in a way that like people don't realize it's more than just like what's available now. Like Greta Van Fleet obviously is like one of the like the bigger rock bands. I guess that's newer. I guess I could be completely wrong because I don't really listen to the radio, but like I feel like MGK and Will Smith are getting shit on for a lot of reasons people don't realize is a good thing. Because like I mean, Since You've Been Gone by Kelly Clarkson, I feel like is a big thing too, because I remember when she came out with that, I was like, this is a great fucking song. Like, you can look shit on me all you want, I don't care. That's a good song. Like, it's a great song.
A Day to Remember covered
it. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, literally, it's a great cover. Like, any way you make that song, it's hard as fuck. Katy Perry even did shit like that. Katy Perry, when she was blowing up, was doing Warped Tour, and she had like That's What You Get for Waking Up in Vegas, whatever that song. I don't know if that's the whole title, but like that song, it's a pop punk song, you know? And like, you know, MGK's music might not be for everybody, but definitely I don't know if it's him or if it's his manager that sees the opportunity, but like it's so smart.
Yeah,
it's very genius.
MGK has popped up on like quite a few pop punk artists, like he'll feature on them. So like I think he just likes that music in general, and then like, you know, he seems like a punk guy anyways. Yeah, no, I completely agree. But yeah, so I guess to kind of go on mine. So like when I go and I listen to music, I feel like the first thing that hits me is kind of like is kind of like melody and structure probably hits me the first. Is like, okay, do I like the way the song sounds? If the answer to that is yes, then I immediately go into lyrics, because you know, you can have some songs that sound really good, but they're saying stupid shit, and it kind of ruins the song for you. Like Harrison, I don't know if you know, but like Real Friends to me is kind of like that. Their music sounds good, but if you really sit and listen to the lyrics, it's like if a 5-year-old wrote them. Like, they are not good lyrics. They are bad lyrics.
Bony knees and fucking Yeah.
Yeah, that's all you need to know. Like even their good ones, if you really sit and listen to the lyrics, you're like, this fucking sucks. So it's like some really like melody and structure, they'll hit me first, and then I listen to lyrics. Because like me, when I listen to music, I don't usually listen to it in the sense of like, oh, I just want to feel good, feel upbeat. Like I usually listen to a song because like I want it to make me like feel something in some way. I want to be able to like to me it's like reading. Like you don't want to sit there and just read like a shitty stereotypical feel good book. You want to read a book with a good story, and that's kind of how I approach music. So like, you know, my probably most hated genre is I don't really like much rap or mumble rap. Like I hate it because to me it's like, okay, yeah, it might like the beat might be good or the melody might be okay, but like what they're saying, they're literally just like making a bunch of like, oh, these are good like rhymes together, or this is a good zinger if I just put this in. It's like it has no inherent meaning to it.
Sure.
And so I don't really, and like I know people like that, so like I'm not gonna shit on people that like that kind of stuff. That's fine. But like to me, I don't approach music that way. I approach it like I want it to tell like some kind of story that I can take some kind of value for. I don't like it. It's just like mindless background music.
Sure.
And that's how I approach music. But what about you, Michael? So you talked a little bit about it, but
Okay, so when I listen to music, it's first sort of like you. I mean, this seems very universal. I have to decide if I like the song, but most of the time I'm willing to suspend that because when I listen to a song, I try to listen to all of the things that people typically don't hear. And like this is the sort of stuff that you can hear in the music that I've been making. Like I'm not trying to toot my horn, but when I showed Trevor a song that I made, like the Crime Dynasty song, like I was taking part of the tracks and just muting them. And it's the stuff that you would never notice if I didn't isolate them.
You've always been really good at that, though. Because I remember even when we were kids, you would be like, oh, I love this part in the song. Like, hang on, wait for it, listen to it. And then, like, it would hit. And I'd be like, okay, I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Like I can't hear it. But then, like, he'll sit there and really explain it to me. And like, he can hear, like, the very minute details in songs that I feel like a lot of people don't have an ear for. But if it was lacking that, you would maybe notice it and realize the song's not as good. I feel like you've always been good about that.
That's the shit that I look for in a song.
Yeah.
Like, if I can hear that, like, I'll play the song over and over and try to see if there's anything else. Like, God, there are so many songs that just come to mind that I would just love to just take apart and explain, but I can't do that. But it's the stuff that you think nobody will hear, but you put it in there anyway, that really adds to the song. Like, if you have enough of that, no matter what your lyrics are, no matter what the song sounds like, I'm fucking in.
I mean, that's like true musicianship at one point. Like, I mean, that's pretty much what bottles it down. And like
Michael definitely has that. For sure. Yeah.
And like, I'm the same way. Like what we were talking about with pinch harmonics. Like, I feel like that's like something that like is just a little zest on the like riff. And like I always tell Sawyer, like, what makes a good like metal band to me is a money riff. And what I mean by money riff is like that one riff that's just it gets you. Like, you're just like invested. Like, one of those, you can see it coming from like a mile away. And that's not always a good thing, but like, it's a good thing because like it gives the listener investment into the song. Like, kind of like metalcore, like what you were saying. Like, metalcore has a lot of like predictable moments. And like, again, like I said, you know, that's up for the viewer or listener to like say is a good thing or a bad thing. But like, it's sometimes a really good thing because like it's just a vibe. And like, and I hate to sound like, dude, it's all about the fucking vibes, but like, it's true. It's really true. Like, I feel like that's what makes good musicianship is like little things that like, if you mute certain tracks and you just like really put all of your like love and like just little like things you think matter the most to you, I feel like at one point you'll realize that's what creates the best music.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like it's definitely like a blend because there's a part of me that is like when you make music, it's more like for you, and then if people happen to like it, like good. But at the same time, I feel like some of the best stuff is like, you know, because you were like mocking yourself about like the vibe thing. But at the same time, it's like, you know, you want to write a song that's good, but also like, is this something that people are going to want to listen to? Like something that people can vibe to? I feel like that is an aspect of music. So
it's
like,
a weird medium, and I feel like a lot of people either can do or not. And I feel like all you got to do is just try. And like, and I'm that person that like I have to have like I will have like 4 hobbies going at once.
Yeah, same.
And like same. I mean, yeah, I remember growing. I think you're probably the reason I have that thing now.
It's a problem.
I was an only child, and like I was bored most of the time. So like
Yeah.
I'm at one point probably being a musician was just bound to happen.
Yeah.
But like yeah, I mean it's true. Yeah, that's all I can say.
Yeah. So here's a good question. So what in general, we talked a little bit about this, but was there ever anything about music? Like, what is it that made you guys want to be musicians and like actively make music? Because we've talked about how we like, you know, kind of got into it. Like, okay, like this is how I started. But was there anything that really just kind of like, what is it about it that you like so much that you want to make music? Like,
Go ahead. The parallels between when I wanted to make music, like really wanted to make music as a guitarist versus wanting to make music as like an electronic music producer is I want to get good enough to recreate the sounds that I'm hearing. Like ultimately that's the core goal. And even more so with the EDM that I'm listening to now, like the sounds are so complex. Like there's so much involved that I feel like I have just an ocean of information to learn.
For sure.
And that's kind of exciting. Like it's discouraging at times because my shit doesn't sound like
right.
say,
Yeah, no,
sure.
I totally get it.
For
yeah.
sure.
But it's a very nice challenge, and learning even bits and pieces of like taking drops from that knowledge of ocean of knowledge, is, I mean, it's exciting.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Like that's really what makes me want to keep doing it. Just learning how to emulate these sounds, change them to where I want them to be, and I mean, make shit with them.
Yeah, completely agree. Harrison?
I mean, yeah. I mean, he said it so. I mean,
And he said it pretty good.
He
yeah.
said it pretty fucking
He said it pretty good.
All I can say is like that's just so accurate because like, I mean, I feel like, and the only thing I can add is like with guitar, like it makes sense. So many people are drawn to guitar because like it's so universal, like acoustic, electric, you know, classic rock, jazz, fucking gent, if you know what it is. Like eventually, like at one point you're like, what is the point of playing anything else? Like, you know, drums, obviously. Like I wanted to be a drummer before a guitar player, actually. It's just an expensive hobby. And like honestly, respect to anyone that can do it. I mean, I still wish I could do it. And like I got an idea, I guess, but like I mean, it's true. Like what you said is pretty much true. Like I think and like what Trevor said earlier about like expressing emotion and like what you feel through music is what's more important. Like I think I have heard all of my music instrumentally that I've made. And like at this point I like it. You know, maybe, you know, 10 minutes from now if I heard it, I'd probably be like, you know, this is garbage. But like that's just who I am. And like eventually you have to, and this is something I learned with like, you know, the field I'm in, cutting hair, you have to take your eyes off of it for like a couple of seconds and just come back to it, because like I feel like eventually you'll like it. And like, because I think we said this before the podcast, Rome wasn't built in a day. And you have to really understand that like you probably have a good idea, just sit on it. And you know, eventually it'll come to you.
Yeah, I completely agree.
And I feel like, I mean, that comes with any music. I mean, and don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm sitting here saying like I know what the fuck is good and what is bad, because music is subjective.
No, completely. Yeah.
And you know, like I said, like I listen to some ridiculous shit sometimes, and even sometimes I'm like, I'm not even gonna send this to anybody because people are gonna think it's garbage. But like, you know, it's just subjective. You know, it's just really subjective. And I feel like at one point, as long as you are getting something out of it, keep doing it.
Oh,
and you should just keep going and don't stop. Like, don't stop until you are completely finished. Yeah. Even if I don't like it, fuck what I think. Yeah. Straight up.
Yeah. So for me, that's kind of how I've always approached music. I've always been that douchebag that approaches music as an outlet. Because I don't know, I feel like I've always had like a pretty good mental state. Like there's been, you know, everyone has like their lows, but I feel like it's always been like pretty good. And I attribute a lot of that to music because to me, it just allows you to get out these feelings that you have that maybe you can't like tell someone directly anymore because either they're not around or you went through a bad breakup or you just have a hard time kind of like expressing your feelings maybe towards people that you love.
Sure.
And music, it was always kind of that way. It's like I treat it as like poetry first, and then I try to make it like sound good, because that essentially that's what music is
right.
It's a form of poetry. It's just, you know, in a melody. And so that's how ever since I was kid, like I said, it was like a fucking heroin fix when I was a kid. It was like first song I ever wrote. I was like, man, this bad breakup. And like, you know, you always kind of turn to music as like, you know, when you're feeling sad, you like, you know, you go and you listen to good music that you like and you feel better. So it's like, but I took that and I was like, well, maybe I can make something that I like. And
Sure.
and so from that first moment, like I said, like being a little sixth grader and like writing the song about this girl, it just made me feel so much better, because it's like, even if I can't tell this person how I feel, like I have put it out into the world.
Sure.
And if they choose to listen to it, so be it. If not, whatever, the message is out there. You can find it if you want. And I have always, ever since then, I have always approached music like that. And so like admittedly, most of my music has always kind of been about like either unrequited love or like breakups that go bad. Like I don't really have too many just like happy songs for the sake of being happy. But like to me, like that's what attributes the most to like my good mental state, is that it's like when you have these shitty moments that are hard to deal with, I go and I deal with it in my own way, like
Sure.
this. So it's like, even if the technical problem has not been resolved, it feels like it has been because I've done this thing
Sure.
and I've expressed myself. So it's like, you know, to me, it's like, it's like having your own confrontation, even if they never see it. Like if you can't even have it anymore, like you've had your own confrontation, you've had your own, you make your own closure. And so like, I remember Zach and I, like we got really fucked up one night. We were talking here, and that's kind of like how I told him that I approached music. It was like, yeah, it's like closure that you make for yourself. And that's just always been how I have approached it. And it's just always worked really well for me. And that's why I continue writing songs. Even if I don't give two flying fucks if anyone listens to my shit, but it's like, it's out there. And if you want to, like, go right ahead.
Publicity and money should never matter.
No.
And I feel like, honestly, don't let any conservative or like, don't let any fucking suit and tie politician type people tell you like that creativity and art doesn't matter, because it's so powerful.
Yeah.
It's so fucking powerful.
Yeah.
And like and I mean it, like it's true. Like
Yeah.
it like I've seen it move like political views. I've seen it move anything.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like I think that's what also draws me towards music, is that like it's the ultimate freedom of expression. And like,
yeah.
obviously, like, you know, like how much can we have freedom of? Because, you know, you'll have like bands that are racist, or like you'll have
yeah.
bands that say shit, or not even bands, just artists that like, you know, create propaganda. But
yeah.
like, you know, obviously, you know, you shouldn't be. It's hard to. There's this weird medium, because it's like it shouldn't be a hate crime, obviously.
Right,
but like,
yeah.
you know,
No, I get it.
it's
yeah.
weird, but like, you know, I feel like most musicians can find that fine line
Yeah.
of where it's like there's an expression where it doesn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what art is.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
art
yeah, and-
always
and-
is great.
And that's kind of that is literally what I told Zach, and I mentioned this like earlier, but like literally what I told Zach like that night when we were talking about like music and kind of how we write and whatnot. And I was like, you know, I honestly, like, I write music for me. Like it is completely for me. I try to write it in a tone that maybe people would like, it would be like pleasant on the ears, but
Sure.
It is completely for me. And I don't write it with the expectation that like, oh, somebody's going to be able to relate to this. It's like, because it's impossible for you to completely relate to my music, because this is my story and this is my life. But if you can find like elements that maybe you can relate to on some way, like, cool. But I'm not writing the song for you, Harrison, or for
Right.
Joe Blow who wants to listen to a cool pop song. I'm writing this for me, and if you happen to like it, dope, cool. Like, and that's always how I've approached it. And that's the good thing about having it as like a hobby and not really like a job where it, you know, it can be commercialized and you can kind of take the soul out of it, is that it's like I have the ability to be able to continually do that for the rest of my life, is to just for me and no one else just make music. And
For sure.
I love it. It's the perfect outlet. But so we spent a little bit of time on this one. So let's go into, so when you're writing music, is there any, because we all have influences on the songs that we are making, and like to me there's always been a couple bands that always stick around in my head when I'm writing songs. Like is that the same for you guys? Do you guys have like, when you're writing songs, like specific influences that you're like, man, I really like, if I can find a way to get it to sound like this certain band, or if I can tell it in the way that these guys told it, like, do you guys have that?
Yeah. So The chord progressions that I use do come a lot from metalcore. I actually have to change that. Like every song that I start is like typically in a minor key, and so it takes me a little bit of unwinding that to get, more major keys, more upbeat sounding, because typically the music that I write is upbeat. But what I try to do, like you may know Elenium. Elenium is really big in the EDM community right now.
Is that the band that has like the guitar players and shit?
Or
on certain songs?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Elenium has this one, or in his past few albums, he's had this characteristic, like this very nice characteristic that he doesn't have in his newest album. But it's like this, it's almost like it's a synthesizer that basically sounds like a voice, and it's very, very cool. Actually, that was one of the reasons why I wanted to start music production, like to figure out that.
Sure.
And I always try to fuck around in my synthesizer with making that. Like I never have been able to do it before, so it's never been in any of my songs. But on every song that I've attempted, I've tried to do that.
Okay.
And then in addition, there are some pieces of songs, say by an artist named Nurko, like almost like a bass drop, like boom. I mean, that was shitty. I'm sorry for those. Let me try that again.
No.
That's it.
There we go. He
That's
did it.
The Michael Bay 808 needs a lens flare in there too.
Yeah, like basically shit like that I try to emulate. Just it's mainly sounds and not people, because
Yeah.
I mean, while people do have their signature sound, the method of creating the sound by and large is sort of the same. Like they just have final finishing touches that make them different.
Gotcha. Harrison, what about you?
I will say so far, because I've only written like metal music as of right now, there's definitely inspirations. I guess I'll call it that. So how do I say this? So like the main song that's kind of like the flagship song is definitely like a bolt thrower, and this is a band, bolt thrower inspiration.
Okay.
Which is a band, if I could kind of explain, is basically, so I mean their entire existence is based off of Warhammer, the tabletop game.
Okay.
So basically put Conan in like Lord of the Ring battles, and like
I'm just picturing Conan O'Brien.
oh no, I'm sorry, Conan the
No, I
Barbarian.
gotcha.
Sorry for listeners. Just shit like that. And like I found them at a later time in my life where I thought music about just battling is fucking awesome. And so like I'm more of an instrumentalist than a lyricist. There you go.
There we go.
But I will definitely say there's inspiration. So like this music, the music that I'm making right now, I'll call it crossover, which basically means, and you can apply that to anything, but like if you're a metalhead, what crossover means to you is like thrash metal and death metal. So basically thrash metal meaning Metallica, and death metal meaning like bands like Bolt Thrower or Obituary, just like the flagship bands. But yeah, so like I have an idea, I guess, because like it's hard to explain with writing music to somebody who doesn't write music. But basically you start with an inspiration, and you just kind of go from there. I mean, that I hate to be like the cookie cutter explanation on writing music, but that's,
I mean, no, that's perfectly
that's true. I mean, that's just it.
Perfectly fine.
And I'll have riffs that like I will come up with, guitar riffs that I have in my mind, and I'll just apply them there. Like I think they're good, and they'll be good on paper, and I'll try to make them like sound good. And honestly, like there's a lot of times, and I do this with like drawing too, because I've been drawing as a kid, but I don't think I'm that great. But like if I don't like something, I will throw it the fuck away. And like Lainey will literally tell me, my wife will tell me that like I need to stop fucking doing that. And like Sora tells me it too. He's like, dude, stop fucking doing that, because I guarantee you'll come back to it and you'll need it for something. And what the fuck happened? Like I actually found out that was true, because like I have this one song that is honestly, as on its own, is a good instrumental. And it's like it has a lot of mixtures of like what I grew up with, like 80s metal ballad and like hard, just really gritty, like metal music. And that's just how it is. So like when it comes to recording music, I really look for because like I said, I'm not a lyricist. I look for the like, you know, the money riff, like I mentioned earlier, something that really catches you, something that really draws you in and shows itself, but not for too long. I feel like there's a lot of, I mean, for instance, if you've ever heard the song Walk by Pantera, it's got that money riff that's like, and it comes in and it leaves perfectly. Like it's just, that's probably the best money riff song I can think of that's metal. Besides, I can't really even think of it. Like it's just really good. Like it's just, it's basic and it's to the point and it makes it just, that's, hey, what do you think about that? Like pretty much. And it's just like simple. Because I feel like, I mean, that's why pop music is so important. And I feel like you need something that draws attention but isn't too complicated. But like you don't want something that is going to make the viewer feel like they're too stupid to listen to it.
Right.
Because I hate pretentious music. And there's a lot of that is with indie music. And that's a lot of like there's a genre that I do like, but there's a lot of it I don't like called math rock. I do like math rock. And,
I love math rock.
I'm not shitting on it.
No, but means. I understand what you mean.
Like Polyphia, they're like probably the flagship band now, I guess, of it. But I can appreciate it, and like as a musician, I can sit there and be like, this shit is insane. Like I don't know how I couldn't even like. I tried to just fuck with it, and like I tried to figure it out on my own, and it's insane. I can't fucking believe it.
It's so impressive. It's like, fucking cool.
And I feel like that's why a lot of people, the people that shit on math rock are people that aren't musicians. And if they are musicians, they're shitting on it because it's like the new thing. It's just cool to hate it. And like, I hate that because it's like, dude, like, if you're going to hate on something for being new, at least have a reason besides it being new. And I feel like when I look for music, as long as it's catchy, to answer your question into one thing, as long as it's catchy, I fuck with it. I don't care what genre it is. If it's fucking catchy, if I'm nodding my head or if I got I got the, you can't see it on camera, but the stank face.
Yeah. We all know what you're talking about. The friend group knows what you're talking about.
If I ever wrote music and someone gave me the stank face, dude, that's literally saying like you're a scholar.
Dick hard.
Like it's such a fucking compliment. Damn. Like straight up.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, no, I mean that was pretty good. I would say
Michael said it best for sure though.
Yeah, Michael said it pretty well.
Yeah.
I would say I never tried to emulate like someone's sound. That's never really my goal because it's like I don't want to, sound like another artist, I guess. But the one band, and I actually haven't mentioned them yet, but the one band that is my probably biggest influence on my music that I create is Parachute, 100%.
Okay.
Because, I mean, they to me are the perfect balance. And their last couple albums have been like a little too poppy. But so like, in case you don't know them, like it's the one that like our song, like the New Orleans video, like that's them.
What's like? I know they have like a famous song, but I can't.
They have a lot. But they're kind of like they're one of those bands that, like everyone knows, but like no one. It's like that Patrick Wilson guy. It's like, how has this guy been in 50 movies and refuses to be famous? Like that's Parachute. That's Parachute for music. But yeah, so like to me, they are the perfect blend of.
Are they the guys that did Step Back from That Ledge?
No.
Oh, okay.
They're like the perfect blend of like pop, like good ear-pleasing music, but like with really good messages and very thought-out lyrics. Like to me, and like that is something I kind of strive to be in my music. It's like I want it to be something that it's like I myself would kind of like you said, like nod my head to, like kind of bop to, like okay, like this is good, but at the same time, it's like I want the lyrics to be like deep. I want them to have like a good personal message to them, and I think Parachute in most of their albums does that perfectly. And like I said, they might be a little poppier for some people's taste. Like it's definitely kind of like a Sunday school girl vibe, like sometimes in some of their shit. But like they have always been, because like I'm not like one of those people who can emulate like certain sounds. Like I can't go in and just start like doing metal if I wanted to. Or like I was literally trying to fuck around with Michael's like EDM stuff the other day. I'm like, I can't just like make EDM. But like what I know how to make is I've got like a lot of affinity towards the acoustic guitar and acoustic music. I just always like the way it sounds. And when I play it, to me, and like what I sing and what I do is always sounds best kind of in like an acoustic setting. And Parachute has just always been the sound that sounds the most similar to the stuff that I myself can and want to make. So like they're the biggest inspiration as far as kind of like how the poppier sound goes with like the deep lyrics that I like. And then Modern Baseball is a huge influence on like kind of like the deeper, more like thought out lyrics that I want to achieve in a song. Like thought out metaphors, thought out structure, like the way that they do that. Like they are a huge influence in like, I would say like my lyrics, and then Parachute is a huge influence in like how I do just like the music.
Since you decided to say that, like I gave you like Turnover and like Michael was saying like I was like so good at guitar, I will say that Modern Baseball is something that like I didn't appreciate until recently. Yeah. Until like you and Sawyer were talking about it. Modern Baseball, if I can, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if I can like call them, like if I can basically give them a bio, I would say like they're just a bunch of good ass dudes and a bunch of good ass friends that make music. And like literally, and they write what they're about. And like they know they're not like, I'm not saying they're not talented, but like they know that they're like, they know their skill set and they don't like advertise that they're anything better than that.
Well, yeah, no, I think that is that's a pretty decent description, because they don't take themselves too seriously. A, they like to have fun, and B, like you said, like they recognize that it's like, you know, neither of the lead singers are good singers.
Sure.
But they know, like they kind of have the idea that like, hey, we can still make good music. We don't have to be like, you know, fucking Carrie Underwood out there. Like they can make good music and like the vocals be a little like subpar, but their structure is always really nice. Their lyrics are always really good. Their lyrics are my favorite thing about their songs. I love their fucking messages that they put out. But yeah, no, like you said, just a bunch of good dudes hanging out, making good music.
They're a good expression of like just a bunch of friends making music. Like that's literally what it sounds like to me. That's what I get from them, because like just a bunch of good friends going through some shit, making music. That's literally it.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I like them so much. Like I have always really appreciated bands that don't take themselves too seriously, because it's a hard line to toe, because like in my music, I want to do that, but then oftentimes it ends up coming across like I'm taking myself too seriously. And it's like, I wish I could find that balance that they're able to do so well. It's like they write songs that are like serious as shit, but you know they're not taking themselves as serious as they sound.
It's always the best route if you're like a public band or like a public artist, I guess, in the public eye, to like not take yourself too seriously, because like if you don't, you come off pretentious. And if you and if you do, or if you don't take yourself too seriously, you're just chill. You're just like we were talking about earlier, Bill Murray. Yeah. Like the dude doesn't take himself seriously.
Not the actor.
Like, yeah, sorry.
Not the
Bill,
actor.
Muri.
It's a band.
Like, you don't take himself seriously, and like if you take the jokes away from him, his music is great. And like, and even if he had the jokes, I still would like him. Like I was saying.
Well, like, and that's the thing, that's what makes it, that's what adds to it, is that like not only is the music good, but you also know that the guy is just a chill motherfucker.
It's relatable.
Who likes me. Yeah, it's yes. All right, so we're gonna sum it up with one last question and then finish off the podcast. So, guys, if you were stranded on a desert island and for whatever reason there was a fucking record player there and you could pick only one album to listen to for the rest of your life, what would it be? And Michael, we're going to start with you while Harrison thinks about it.
Okay, so by no means was this an easy question. And that's an understatement. But the album that I would choose is Millennium's Awake.
Okay.
Because on that album, I mean, I take a lot of musical influences from that album.
So can I pause you there? Is this the one before Ascend?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So Ashes was the first, Awake was the second, Ascend was the third. Awake has, well, I mean, like I said, it's where I take a lot of musical inspiration from. Like it's got what I consider to be Millennium's quintessential sound. And in addition to that, it reminds me of, like, two of the songs remind me of a very happy and carefree point in my life. And
Okay.
I'm not saying my life is shitty now.
No, your
but,
life sucks.
but like it was when I listened to these two songs, I was just getting into that new relationship phase. Like I just met Sarah. I just got the Honda Civic that I had before. Like it was a sort of new car to me, and college had just ended for the semester. So I mean, at this point in my life, I was feeling immaculate. Like I just started a job as well at the defense
Hello.
at the defense contractor that I used to work at.
Yeah.
And that album really captures the spirit of like my life as it was 4 to 5 years ago. Perfection.
Hell yeah. Okay. Wow. You thought about that one quite a bit. You were pretty quick to that. So I know the answer for mine. I didn't really have to think too hard about it, but there's a couple like runners up that I could probably throw in there. Shit. So the first one I'm going to say that, yeah, it's going to be Peripheral Vision by Turnover. Because and like that sounds like, if you know anything about pop punk, that's gonna be like such a basic white boy answer, but like it is just an album. To this day, I always had a pretty hard time with listening to full albums. Matter of fact, it wasn't until I got into, I want to say, pop punk that I was finally able to put on like whole albums and only like not like maybe one song. Like that was very rare for me. And Peripheral Vision is probably one of the very first albums I ever listened to that from start to finish, I love almost every single song. And I've been listening to this album for 6 years now, something like that. And I still put it on as background music when people are like coming in or we're just like hanging out and chilling. Like it has never gotten old after all of these years. So I know I could listen to it for years on end. So it goes the same so it's that one. And then their second album, which is Good Nature. I am the same way. I can put that one on and listen to every fucking song and love just about all of them. So it's probably between one of those two. Yeah, I want to say that, like, between one of those two, like, they just, no matter what, and like there's other albums that I like more than those, you know, just in their own like style. But if I know I only had to listen to one for the rest of my life, it would be one of those two. Like, to me, it's just so good. I love it. I love it so much. So Harrison, you're up.
I hate to be this dickhead, but like there's no absolute chance I could put one. Like there's not one, because I listen to so much different types of music that like I wouldn't be pleased. Like if you put a gun to my head and told me this, I would literally choose the gun. Like there's
just
no
fucking
way.
kill me.
Like there's no way. Like I couldn't, because
I'm gonna deep
like
throat this barrel.
straight up, like I couldn't. And like I'll do it down to 3.
That's fine.
So metal album. I'll do it by genre. So metal album. So like if I'm feeling angry and I'm feeling like angsty, I'm feeling like I got to get some aggression out, maybe like a workout, maybe some just anger. Definitely I definitely think either Far Beyond Driven by Pantera or Injustice for All by Metallica, which is the album that has 1 on it. It's for people who don't know. For mellow music, honestly, I'm gonna have to agree with you that like either Peripheral Vision by The Story So Far,
Wait.
Peripheral Vision by Turnover, or and I might turn little heads with pop punk fans on this, but the newest Story So Far album.
I love that one. That one's so good.
No ironic song choices, but like it actually grew on me. And I hated it at first. I actually hated it because I thought that Parker Cannon did auto-tune. And then I found out through Sawyer that they actually just recorded multiple vocal tracks, and like Parker's just a good vocalist. So like not that that's why I hated it. It just sounded poppy. But like
it's definitely their more poppy album of all of theirs that they've had.
So why this album is important to me, 2 things. I don't, well, I'm not going to number it. I'm sorry, I'm drunk. But like the reason it's important to me is that at the time it came out, me and Lainey were preparing for a wedding.
Yeah.
Me and Lainey knew that pop punk was very important to our relationship.
Oh yeah.
And the problem with this is like pop punk's really weird, and this is kind of like what I was talking about earlier. Like you can't. For me, I grew out of it because like I'm in a really happy state of my life, and I'm kind of like past heartbreak, and like that's
we were talking
I
about.
hope, literally, same exact thing.
I hope that's never gonna happen. So like, what happened? Stories So Far wrote a grown-up album, is what I call it, and they wrote a song called "Take Me as You Please." Yeah, and I know when I heard that song, I was like, I'm gonna walk down the aisle to this, and I literally, or not walk down the aisle, I walked, after being legally bounded by marriage, that's literally what I walked down to. And like I remember it was like a fair, like fuck you if you like but like straight up like walking away from the ceremony to Take Me as You Please was like fairy tale shit.
I loved it so much. Like you guys were playing that whole time as like a pop punk playlist, and I absolutely loved it. Like because it's like I understood it. Like I got it, and it's like I understand why people like Matt and your mom probably didn't like it all that much because it's like, oh, it just sounds like a bunch of angsty bullshit.
Well, that's why I like the story so far because they finally wrote something that's not depressing.
So I actually wanted to follow up with that. So like to me, the song that made me realize that they had grown up was Upside Down, like the story so far, like Upside Down.
Yes,
because literally like that's kind of what they comment on in that song. It's kind of like, hey, like you're turning 24 and like you kind of realize that some of the things that you were like angsty about, like, all that shit doesn't really matter anymore.
That song literally is about being 24, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. like you turned 24 staring in your face. Like that was my fucking caption when I turned
That is where that song came from?
Yeah, Upside Down
24, yeah.
Yeah, and that's literally it. Is that like they kind of go in there and it's like you can tell they're kind of commenting on like how they used to feel about things.
Right.
And
So the last one. Sorry, this is so long. So I covered anger. I covered emotion. So the last one is like fuck around music is what I call it.
Okay.
So honestly, either Van Halen's 1984.
Okay.
Or I might say A Day to Remember's what's the album with Downfall of a Song on it?
That's Homesick, isn't it?
Homesick.
Yeah, that's Homesick.
And kind of to address what Michael was saying again, it's the nostalgic thing.
Yeah.
And like obviously like I honestly like For Those Who Have Heart more. Mm-hmm. But Homesick is such a like it takes me back type thing.
I think it encapsulates almost all of our like early high school years.
Absolutely.
Like,
and A Day to Remember is so important. Like what Michael was saying is like why he likes that band, and it's the same reason. It's like they're so genre prolific. I guess prolific is the right word. Like they do so much like different types of like genres at once, and
maybe transcendent. Is that kind of
that's probably the right word?
Transcendent.
Like yeah.
They do so much different shit, and like. Even nowadays, it's true. Like they do pop music that I absolutely fucking hate now. But like, I mean, not to shit on them.
No, I get it.
Something I think is that like I would rather hate a band for making music that I don't like than making the same album for 5 years. Like it's
well, because then it becomes vanilla.
Exactly. It's just like, dude, okay, we get it. You can do it. Can you not? Like, but like, no, Homesick is such a it's so like. Simpler times type music.
No,
and
I completely get it.
So
huge nostalgia factor.
It's so like simpler times, and it makes me miss those times. Even when I look back, I'm like, I'm glad I'm not that person anymore. But like, I totally would go back right now if I could.
Yeah, and that's that exact thing that you just said is exactly why I also hold like a very special place in my heart with Peripheral Vision. Is that like because that was like one of my best years in college. That's really when I started becoming like who I am today. Like, cause like high school Trevor and early 20s Trevor are two completely fucking different people. And I feel like that kind of marked the point where I was like really finding myself and like my life. It just happened to line up like perfectly well. And so it's like that album will always kind of be like this moment of like huge change. And so I completely agree with that. Yeah. So every time I hear it, it immediately takes me back to my dorm, like my first apartment with John at Texas Tech, and it was just I completely get it.
One more thing I want to add, and I think it's something that like I feel like we should all congratulate each other on, is that like we can appreciate each other's music tastes, and I feel like somewhere in the middle we've met. And I feel like we've met and been like, what's up, dude? Like, how you doing? And then we just go our own way.
Yeah.
And I feel like we can appreciate that, and we could all come together and be like, whoa. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
giving someone a new taste of something is always important.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I feel like even if you fucking hate it, fuck it. What do you lose by finding it? Like, what do you lose by like knowing it exists?
Well,
Like,
I mean,
nothing.
literally, acquired things are a taste. Like a lot of these bands that I first listened to, like Modern Baseball. When I first heard them, I didn't like them.
Sure.
And it was only after like they kept popping up on Pandora that I was like, okay, you know, I dig this shit, and now they're like one of my favorite bands of all fucking time. And
Right.
so it's like, yeah, no, like you gotta open yourself up to hearing new shit.
Sure. And so I promise you, I feel like, and dude, you can sit there and tell yourself like, dude, like I'm too cool for this. I'm too I'm too good for this. Like, fuck that shit. Like I can tell you any person that likes music, and if you don't, the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like if you like music, you have a guilty pleasure. And it's not even really a guilty pleasure. It's like you just grow up. Like you're too old.
No,
any
I
age
get
is
it.
too old to be that way.
Okay, so actually we never got to that. We'll finish it up. We'll finish it up with this one.
All right.
Guilty pleasure. One guilty pleasure that you like, that you would know, what, as you just said a minute ago, maybe other people would consider embarrassing.
Caramel dancing.
Who?
What is that?
Say it again.
Exactly. It's caramel dancing. CARAMELLDANSEN. I don't even know how to describe this song. I don't know how to convey this.
That's 2 words, right?
One word.
What? That's even more
Caramel
fucking
dancing.
insane.
Okay, so why is this your guilty pleasure? What is guilty and pleasuring about it?
Well, it has a sort of like a cascada every time we touch kind of vibe.
Oh,
Okay.
hell yeah.
Okay.
It's a good
Hell
song,
yeah.
but it's even more. I think it has that vibe, but like times 2.
Okay.
Ooh.
All right.
And not to
all right,
mention,
okay.
it's also I think Swedish.
Say the name one more time.
Caramel dancing.
Caramel dancing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, Harrison, what about you? You got a guilty
All right.
pleasure over there?
Y'all know this, and it's Primus.
Okay. Okay.
So, literally, the whole joke around Primus is Primus sucks.
Yeah,
That's literally,
yeah.
they have it on
Yep.
T-shirts.
Uh-huh.
Don't say it to me because, like, I will literally think you're a fan. So,
yeah.
so, like, Primus is, I mean, they literally did the theme song for South Park, for those who don't
Yeah.
know. But, like,
shit.
again, I hate, like, Lainey hates it.
I hate it
I know a lot of people
so
that hate
much.
it, and it's
I fucking-
understandable
because it terrifies me.
Oh,
That's why. Like
it's
I
chaotic.
Get,
Hold
yeah,
on.
I
Is
get,
Primus the My Name is Mud?
My name is Mud.
yeah, that's them.
Yeah.
They no, don't get me wrong. I agree with you. Their music, if I just take out all of his lyrics, like everything that he says, it hits. It's good.
I'm about to make you a fan, I bet, right now.
Oh, Jesus
Bet this.
Christ.
So apply the same thing you have, apply the same knowledge about Bill Murray, right? Don't take it too seriously. Just listen to it, especially if you're a musician, because I'm the same way. I found Primus after I realized, oh, fuck, this is the band that did the South Park theme song. Going down South Park, gonna have myself.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, the vocalist doesn't take himself seriously.
No, he
But
doesn't.
like straight up, if you can't sit here and tell me that Les Claypool is a great bass player, eat shit.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Like the music is
Oh,
good,
yeah.
but like what I don't know what the fuck it is.
It's
But like when
freeform
he
jazz.
starts like singing,
Oh, yeah,
I am immediately given an anxiety attack. Like fucking
There was a race
scares the
for
shit out
driver.
of
He
me.
drove so goddamn
Yes,
fast.
like oh my
Yeah.
god. And then I'm watching like Mud when I'm watching like the music video for that. I'm like, this is a snuff film. Like they fucking murdered a man on camera. Oh my god.
It's so good, and
Holy
I
shit.
can't explain to people why I like it.
No,
but I'm just
I
like,
get it.
I'm just like, dude, I don't give a fuck. Like, if you don't like, I understand why people hate it, but I understand why people love it too. It's a weird middle ground.
Yeah,
But
no, I get it. So mine, if I had to pick like something as like a broader term for what my guilty pleasure is, I do like a decent amount of like pop country. So it's like
Okay.
I love, you were talking about Keith Urban. I love Keith Urban. I love like Blake Shelton, Old Dominion. I mean, I will jam them all the time.
Okay, I heard you say Dominion earlier.
Old Dominion, yeah.
Is that you said a country?
They're pop country. They're pop country. Yeah.
I've never heard of them.
They're the ones that sing like Hotel Key. She came the hotel key.
Oh, that's them?
Yeah, that's
I
them.
had no idea.
I love Old Dominion. And then like Thomas Rhett, he's pop country too.
Okay.
I love him. He's good. So like that's like kind of like my broader thing. I do like some pop country, but
All right.
if there's one song that I'm like, that's my guilty pleasure, but like I'll fucking sing to it, like I don't give a fuck, is Justin Timberlake's "Not a Bad Thing." It's not a bad thing to fall in love with me. And it sounds like it's like In Sync. Like it literally sounds like In Sync, but it's just Justin Timberlake. Like I will fucking jam out to that song and everyone will think I am flaming. Like I fucking love that song.
R&B is slept on.
Yeah, sometimes.
Hella
Yeah.
slept on.
Yeah.
It's good.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. We've been going for about the allotted amount of time. So I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the Modern Goonies podcast. I have been your host, Trevor King Minor, and on the mic we have had Michael and Harrison. So tune in to next week for season 1, episode 9. We are almost done with the season, and we will tell you what the topic is there. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and have a good night.
Thanks for listening.
Pornhub.com.